I coordinate the MedTech and the Cytotechnology program at Plattsburgh State. And a little bit about medical technology. These are the people that work mostly in the hospital to diagnose a lot of the tests that are sent in from the doctors and from clinical staff. And about 75% of medical diagnoses in a hospital are really made by the clinical laboratory. And these are highly skilled professionals, and they get into this profession with a bachelor's degree. And typically that's a 3+1 program, meaning that you spend 3 years in an undergraduate program at SUNY Plattsburgh or one of the other SUNY schools. And then the last year is a 12-month clinical internship. And that clinical internship gives you all the hands-on training that you need to work in the clinical laboratory. This is also the training that leads to state licensure, and medical technology is one of the licensed professions in New York State. So you cannot work in the clinical lab without a license. So Plattsburgh State is just one of at least 7 or 8 schools in the SUNY system that offer a licensure pathway for medical technology. Several CUNY colleges, Brockport, Fredonia, Buffalo, Stony Brook, Upstate, and Farmingdale also offer this program. And so it gives you a lot of leeway, a lot of places that you can get into this. And so it's very important to know that after graduating with this degree, after your 12-month internship, there is a board exam that has to be passed. And once you pass that, this board exam also doubles as the New York State licensure exam. So after passing that, you are actually able to work not just in New York State, but almost anywhere in the country, depending on individual states' licensure regulations. And you're in a profession that is in high demand right now, with starting salaries between $60,000 and $82,000 per year, according to salary.com. So this is a fantastic opportunity with just a 4-year degree to be working in a very fulfilling healthcare setting. And so I will be happy to answer more questions as we get further along. Thank you very much.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Now we are going to jump over to SUNY Buffalo State and hear a little bit more about some internship and clinical opportunities.
Thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. I'm Carol Venation. I am the department chair and professor in the Health, Nutrition, and Dietetics program at Buffalo State College. So I'm really thrilled to be here today because I'm extremely excited about clinical education and internships. And this is where you really meet the real world with what you learn in the classroom. So I'll be talking about these 2 areas, internships and clinicals, but I do have a lot of experience. So I want you to realize that I do have the experience. My program is accredited by 2 accrediting agencies. So they come in and they make sure we're doing what we're supposed to in our clinicals and our internships. So let me first start the stage with internships and why internships and clinicals are so important in academic programs. Most of the areas in healthcare do require some type of internship or clinical experience. And what it does is it allows you to participate in those areas under the supervision of a person that's qualified in the area. So it's a wonderful opportunity for you to gain those skills. When you graduate and you get a job, you're often put in positions where you don't have anybody really overlooking your day-to-day things. Internships and clinicals provide one-on-one, generally one-on-one guidance, so you become really skillful at what you're going to do in your career. Now, in health and wellness, we have internship programs, and they range a lot. They go from healthcare, we have Roswell Park Cancer Institute, to community settings. We have nonprofits, boys and girls clubs. Those internships show students what it's like to work in those different areas. Often there's projects required. They look at your professional skills. I always tell students, when you do these internships, you're really showcasing who you are, and what a wonderful way to get a job, or by the way, to put experience on your resume. As you know, when you graduate, Often the job postings ask experience. Well, now you have something to put on those resumes. So take advantage of those if you can. And I also wanted to talk about some clinical experiences. We have clinical experiences in our dietetics program, and clinical experiences often center around healthcare centers. So if you wanted to be a physical therapist, an occupational therapist, a speech therapist, if you wanted to be a physician's assistant or a nurse, clinical experience takes you into those healthcare settings and they give you guidance on how to master competencies. And I know in the area of dietetics, we often have to learn how to write TPN orders in the ICU. So we need to do IV therapy. We need to know how to calculate those. Internships, clinicals, all give you that experience hands-on with somebody guiding you to make sure that you've mastered those competencies. So I really encourage everyone in your academic career, take advantage of any clinicals and any internship experiences. I know we have a vast amount here at Buffalo State College. I'm very proud of what we offer students, and our clinical partners and our community partners love our internship students. So thank you very much.
Thank you. That's some wonderful information and advice. Next up on the docket today, we have SUNY Brockport. So take it away.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Dr. Kathy Peterson, and I am chair and professor in the Department of Nursing at SUNY Brockport. Now, when you think of nursing, think of the pandemic. Do we need nurses? Yes, we sure do. We have a serious nursing shortage, and we will continue to have a serious nursing shortage for many years. So if you want to be a nurse, you got a guaranteed job, again, starting around $60,000. And depending on where you go, it can be a lot more, depending on what part of the country you go to. So the SUNY system, SUNY Plattsburgh and SUNY Farmingdale and us are the comprehensive colleges that have nursing programs. The university centers of Binghamton, Stony Brook, Upstate, Downstate, and UB also have nursing programs, just to give you a little bit of context to where the nursing programs are. So let me talk a little bit about Brockport's program, and most of the nursing programs are the same. You come to Brockport as a nursing intent, and you take 4 semesters of prereqs and general education courses. And then you apply to the nursing program after your 3rd semester. When you come into that 3rd year or that 5th semester, you spend a lot of time in our beautiful simulation and skills lab in Lathrop Hall for the first 7 weeks, and then you go right into the hospitals. Our students have about 600 hours of clinical during their 4 semesters in the nursing program. In the Rochester area, we have wonderful, wonderful healthcare settings, and we have a Trauma 1 center. We have 4 main hospitals that we go to, and all of our students go to a variety of these. So you get to know what a small hospital is like. You get to know what a Trauma 1 hospital is like, which is wonderful. All students in any nursing program have clinicals in med-surg, pediatrics, OB, community health, psychiatric nursing, and our program also has a critical care component, which is wonderful. And many of our students end up getting jobs in critical care units and the EDs, the ORs, and the ICUs. Another unique thing about our program is we have an internship, a 128-hour internship, and many programs have this, where each of our students works with an RN and follows that RN schedule. 12-hour nights, 12-hour weekends, really gets to know what being a nurse is like. The other thing that I wanted to share with you is Brockport, as well as many of our university centers, have master's degrees. We have a master degree that leads nurses to have a family nurse practitioner. We also have a Doctor of Nursing program, Doctor of Nursing practice program, which the university centers also do. We know that in the future, all of our advanced practice nurses, nurse practitioners, nurse midwives, nurse anesthesiology will need to have a doctorate degree. So we're on the road for that and getting ready for it with having our DNP program already started. And I'll look forward to any questions later. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Peterson. All right, so next up, we are going to hear from Cortland about exercise science.
Okay, good evening, everyone. I'm Dr. Catherine Plasek. I am a professor and the chair of the department. So exercise science in 3 minutes. I would say that falls under the umbrella of kinesiology, which is the study of human movement. It's kind of an offshoot, and I think our exercise science program is one of 4 programs that we have at Cortland, is really interested in preparing students with a background or a critical look at how exercise impacts the human body, right? So what kind of adaptations occur as a result of exercising? You get experience if you're interested in programming. I think exercise science right now is a stepping stone degree or a gateway to a lot of different degrees. I think sometimes we have students that have ideas about what they want to do when they come to Cortland. They're not entirely sure how to get there. And if you like the human body, if you're interested in exercise, if you're interested in physical activity or learning about what physical activity does to various systems throughout in the body, this is a great pathway for you to take. That's really exercise science in a nutshell. Sorry, I didn't the last 3 minutes.
That's wonderful. All right. So next up, we've got SUNY Old Westbury, and we're going to hear about some undergraduate research opportunities. Is Dr. Mascarino here? Or do we have someone else from SUNY Old Westbury that can jump in? She's here. There we go.
Hello?
Hi there, we can hear you now.
Yes, sorry.
That's okay, go right ahead.
The mouse doesn't click properly. So, hello everyone. I am Manya Mascareno. I'm chair of biological sciences at our college at SUNY Old Westbury, and also director of the Institute for Cancer Research and Education. Undergraduate research is a very important part of curriculum and education for our students. And why do students engage in undergraduate research is the primary goal should be to contribute to knowledge and make an impact in the world. That's why I pursued research as a career. But for students at your age, you are looking for distinguishing yourself among other students as you pursue your graduate or professional school courses. And how undergraduate research helps you to do that is by acquiring a lot of skills, soft skills, like learning lab techniques, understanding the research process, understanding how you work on problems, and developing skills to interpret data and analyze data. These students, these techniques help you to manage your time better and build confidence in you. These are all skills that are transferable for you to your professional schools. And in this process, you also augment your personality as you learn tenacity, you learn tolerance for obstacles, and you learn to work independently, giving you self-confidence and understanding that any argument you make, any assertion you make has to be supported with evidence. So these critical thinking skills make you an attractive candidate for any further career goals you have, whether it's applying to medical school, graduate school, or even job opportunities. These are skills you have. As a research student, you also have opportunities to present your research to an audience in your school, in your state, or nationwide. And that gives you, again, public speaking, communication abilities, which are skills that build your confidence and, again, are marketable skills for your enhancing your resumes. And most importantly, once you engage in research of your interest, you will realize that it will support or enhance and drive your career decisions. And if you're engaging in biomedical research, you will appreciate the reason you are pursuing a career as a physician or as a physician researcher. So students pursuing health professions should realize that a successful training in undergraduate research makes them competitive for medical school and even candidates for MD, PhD. And many of students from our college have gone on to do that with undergraduate research experiences. So if you have any questions, we can talk more later in the breakout rooms.
All right, thank you so much. Last but not least, we're going to turn things over to SUNY Potsdam.
Hi, everybody. Good evening. My name is Tanya Hewitt, and I am the chair of Public Health and Human Performance at SUNY Potsdam. And our department houses our undergraduate degree in exercise science, our undergraduate degree in community health, and our graduate degree in community health. And I'm here today to speak a little bit about community health. And I think that the number one question we get from our students is, what is community health? It's something that we speak with students that are interested in our institution, students that are just kind of interested in healthcare careers, but are not really sure where they fit. And so community health is one of those things that, while, you know, in theory, it seems pretty clear, but it actually is a question that we often define. And I would say that community health specialists, they take a very holistic look at public health. And we know, you know, certainly during the pandemic, public health has been in the national view, right? You know, our specialists that are taking care of us right now are folks that are deciding how vaccines should be deployed, are folks that are making sure that underrepresented populations have access. Those are all public health specialists, and our community health specialists work in that same line of work. And so they take a very holistic look at public health. And you know, our graduates, we prepare them to work with diverse populations, identify health risks facing individuals and communities. We help them to develop programs or strategies to promote health and prevent disease. They advocate for health-related legislation and policy. They determine the effectiveness of health programs and serve as a source of accurate information on health issues. And you know, upon graduation, the students, they use their knowledge to focus on how to best reach vulnerable community members and better allocate resources for underserved populations. And so this may look like initiating wellness programs, undertaking educational activities, or creating resources to promote healthy living. You know, the Bureau of Labor Statistics puts community health specialists in a growing field, increasing, I believe, 11% from 2018 to 2028. And if you think about it, that makes complete sense. If you look at the overall health of our population, you certainly can see where our community health specialists are going to be in demand. These individuals work in a variety of different places. You know, they work in nonprofit organizations, they work in government organizations, they work in private organizations, they work with schools, they work, you know, in our own higher education institutions. There's a lot of different opportunities in this holistic look at health. So I'm sure I'm probably running up on 3 minutes. We do have other SUNY institutions that have community health undergraduates and graduate programs. Cortland, SUNY Poly, Brockport all fall into that category. Also looking at the public health masters at Albany and Buffalo. So I'm happy to meet anybody in breakout rooms, and I look forward to your questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tanya. Thank you to all of our wonderful faculty members for those introductions and sharing a little bit more about what all of your schools have to offer in terms of the health professions. At this time, I am going to ask all of our faculty members, our admissions staff members, and our current students to go ahead and turn on their cameras, and we are going to jump into some Q&A questions. So I'll give you just a second to get situated there. As a reminder to all of our panelists, as we move through these questions, when you run into one that you'd like to answer, go ahead and virtually raise your hand, and we will go around the room and let everyone give their 2 cents about all of these different topics that we're going to jump into. For my students attending the presentation today, this is where you should start dropping those questions into the chat or getting ready to raise your own hand and ask questions. We're going to take a break in between every couple of questions that we ask and give you the opportunity to ask your own questions to our wonderful panel. Now, that being said, let's jump right on in. So our first panel question of the day is, do I have to pursue a master's or pursue medical school after I complete my bachelor's to work in the health professions field? And I see we've got SUNY Plattsburgh with a quick hand up, so go right ahead. We'll start with you.
Yeah, really quickly, the great thing about medical technology is that absolutely you can go right in and work with a bachelor's degree. There are master's degree available, but for a med tech to be earning a really good salary, a bachelor's degree is all that you need. I do want to mention that cytotechnology, which deals more with cancer diagnosis, is moving toward requiring a master's degree in that field. So that may be in the future, but there's such a high demand for med techs right now that no, absolutely not. You don't need a master's degree.
All right, thank you. And I think we had Dr. Donation from SUNY Buffalo next.
Thank you. For our dietetics program, to become a registered dietitian, you do need a master's degree as of 2024. So students coming in will need a master's degree, but our health and wellness, you can get along with a bachelor's degree, although we highly recommend a master's degree in public health or some other community health program just to stay competitive in the field. Thank you.
Thank you. And last but not least, we've got Dr. Peterson.
For nursing, absolutely, you can start your career and stay with a career with a bachelor's degree. Another avenue is an associate's degree to nursing, even though New York State has a law now that all associate degree nurses need to have a bachelor's degree within 10 years of graduating from that associate degree program. The nice thing about nursing is as you grow in your career, your master's degree can be a master's in education and you can teach nursing, or it can be master's leadership in nursing and become a nurse leader, or become a nurse practitioner or a nurse midwife. So that master's degree is going to give you additional skills to advance your career.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Jumping over to our next question of the evening. Which classes should I be taking in high school to be accepted into a program within the health professions? And while we wait for some hands to pop up, I can speak on behalf of Plattsburgh. We're generally looking for students who have completed at least 3 units of math, one of which being Algebra 2 or trigonometry if your high school offers that combination class. It's also good to see that you've completed at least 3 units of science. Different health professions on our campus have different science requirements. So if there's a specific major that you're looking for within the field, make sure you reach out to someone in our admissions office so we can chat. And then it looks like Brockport was next. Oh, no, excuse me, I am wrong. SUNY Buffalo.
Thanks. Allison, you probably said it the most concise. I think if you concentrate on some chemistry, some biology, and definitely math, physics is also a really good area to at least get a course in before you graduate.
Fantastic. Anyone else on this question before we move forward? Oh, yep, Tanya, go ahead.
I would also kind of add to that, you know, if you can get any college courses that transfer directly into the programs that you are looking into, that's a great investment. And I know that any of the institution's admissions offices are happy to do that evaluation of transcripts. So if you have the opportunity to take a college and high school type of class that comes in as perhaps like a biology 1 class or a physics 1 class or chemistry 1 class, that would be well worth your time. Sometimes the AP classes, the transfer isn't the same. I just know from my own experience looking at transcripts that those college classes that come directly into the institutions as their equivalents in the majors are helpful. And I think any of the admissions folks could help with that.
Fantastic. All right, so now we are up to our first live panel question. So I know our fantastic panelists have been doing a really good job of jumping into the chat and kind of answering these questions, which I very much appreciate because we're getting a lot of really awesome questions. Let me just check and see if there's any outstanding questions that we haven't answered.
There are, Allison. Okay, so Dr. Peterson, we have 2 questions about nursing. The first is just for clarification, as a nurse midwife, would you need to complete a master's degree? So that's the first question. And then the second question is, do you recommend getting your associates and then gaining experience in a hospital or getting your BSN right away?
Thank you, Megan. In terms of a nurse midwife, yes, that is a master's degree right now. And like I said, probably somewhere between 2025 and 2030, new nurse midwives will need to have that Doctor of Nursing Practice degree also. In terms of the associate's degree versus a BSN, it really does not matter. It's what works for you. You're going to need to have that bachelor's of nursing anyway. So many people will start right with that BSN and move forward. You'll find that many of your associate degree programs actually take 3 years to get through rather than 2 years. So it may be better just to start into a BSN program, but that is totally individual, up to you and your family. And I see the best pathway to become an RN. See, I actually looked at the chat. So it's either an associate's degree or a bachelor's degree in nursing. But as I said, you will need that bachelor's degree in the end. So that might be the best way to go.
Excellent, thank you. It looks like we have quite a few questions here on prerequisites for a nursing program as well. Do a couple of our nursing folks want to talk about that? Oh, Meg, you can go right ahead.
Kathy, take it away. Also, here's what I'll say too. If there are lots of questions about nursing, come to the Brockport breakout room and we will answer them, so we're not monopolizing this session.
So prereqs, and then I'll be quiet. Psych, intro to psych, intro to soc, nutrition, developmental assessment, which is looking at the person from birth to death. A&P 1, A&P 2, micro, chemistry, and stats. There you go.
So those are what you'll take your first couple of years to get into the college as a nursing intent major. What Allison mentioned earlier about your high school curriculum is really what we look for, but also the courses Dr. Peterson mentioned, you can knock some of those out in high school with AP Psych, chemistry, any dual credit courses. Those will certainly count towards your prerequisite completion.
One of the AP courses that I would really think about is biology, because Bio 111 at Brockport is a prereq to A&P and to micro. So you can knock that out with AP. And also I agree with Megan, intro to psych or intro to soc or stats. Those are all great AP courses to take in high school.
Fantastic, thank you both. And just as a quick note too, for Plattsburgh's nursing program, because we're a little bit different, we have a freshman direct admit nursing program. So you're going to be looking to go kind of start off as a nurse as soon as you come in your first year. So the courses you take in high school are weighted a little bit more. So you're going to want to make sure that you have at least 3 units of math completed, leading up to at least algebra 2 and trigonometry. Also going to want to make sure that you have 3 to 4 units of science, and those have to include biology and chemistry as well. So some things to think about if you're thinking about Plattsburgh's nursing program. Okay, for the sake of time, let's scoot on to the next question, and then we'll have a couple more chances to check in on that chat. So our next question is going to be, what are some hands-on learning experiences that I will have during my undergraduate program? Who would like to weigh in on that one first? I have a hand, but I don't know where it is. There we go. Oh, it looks like Buffalo. Go right ahead, Carol.
Thank you. We have an exercise science program, and we do a lot of hands-on. You will actually do every test that you would require a participant to. We also bring you into our fitness center and do hands-on as far as every piece of equipment there is. In dietetics, we do a lot with malnutrition and physical assessment. So there's a lot of hands-on, as well as we have a 3D body image and intake studies that students have to go into the computer and compare it to what the person's is actually saying for their intake. So thank you.
Absolutely. And Jose, go right ahead.
Yeah, so in med tech, obviously the clinical internship is 12 months of hands-on, almost on-the-job training. But even before that, in the 3 years, there's an awful lot of lab classes, including microbiology and cell biology, courses like in genetics, and students have told me again and again, analytical chemistry, the same thing. The skills that you learn, actually the hands-on skills you learn in these fundamental labs are things that you end up using and doing on a day-to-day basis in the clinical lab. So this isn't just make-do work. It's very practical and very relatable to your future career. And lastly, I want to mention any opportunity to take on undergraduate research with a faculty member is an excellent way to get your feet wet and do some independent projects. And some of those are also going to be opportunities during the clinical year. So definitely undergraduate research.
Awesome. And let's jump over to Megan from Potsdam, and then SUNY Old Westbury is on deck.
So as a student right now, I am in my senior year, my last month. I can say that this last semester has been doing entire internships for this whole time. At Potsdam, we do 2 7-week placements or 1 14-week placement. The 2 internship placements I have been working with youth. So you really can find the group that you want to work with after. This is speaking for community health, of course, but I've always wanted to work with kids, and having that chance was really nice for me. And it led to me even finding my job that I have after my internships are all done.
That's awesome, Megan. Thank you. And then it looks like we have Dr. Mascareno before we move on.
Hi, everyone. I wanted to tell you that undergraduate research in our science department is a very popular curricular and extracurricular activity. We have courses which have embedded research-based projects, so you get introduced to the research project. And we also have almost the whole department, all faculty take on 2 to 6 students every semester, and some students stay on from 2 to 3 years in the same lab and become part of the project and are almost independent and graduate student learners. This has helped them to get into medical school, PhD programs, and get jobs as research technicians in different labs. So as a small college, we students get the opportunity to have close interaction with their faculty and do research as well. So it is something that is very popular. We have to say no to students because we can only mentor so many students at a time. And it really enhances the classroom work. It extends the understanding of it. And students look forward to engaging it, hearing from other students about it.
Fantastic. Thank you, everyone. So let's jump over to our next question just for the sake of time here. And that's going to be, what are some things that I should be looking for as a student when I am selecting a certain major or school? Are there accreditations, affiliations, internship opportunities? What should we be on the lookout for? Go ahead, Jose.
And so, I mean, for MedTech, that's pretty straightforward. A licensure, New York State licensure is required, and in New York State, a college has to be listed as a licensure qualifying before they can offer a degree that leads to licensure in medical technology. So check the New York State Education Department's Office of the Professions website for licensure qualifying programs before you go into a program like this, and the programs that are offered will tell you that that's what they are.
Thank you. We're going to go over to SUNY Buffalo next.
And for a dietitian, for a registered dietitian program, you have to look for the accreditation for the Council of Education and Nutrition and Dietetics. That's our accreditation board. There's a lot of nutrition programs out there, but if they're not accredited, that's an issue. And in health and wellness, always look for programs that have internships. That's essential for you to gain that experience. Thank you.
Thank you. Next was Dr. Peterson with Brockport.
If you're interested in nursing, one of the questions I would ask is, what is the first time licensure pass rate? So nurses have to take the NCLEX exam once they're done with their program. And that's a very good question to ask. And I will tell you, because I keep track of it, all of our SUNY schools have really very, very good first time pass rates on that NCLEX exam. So that's something else I would ask. Nursing programs also have to be accredited. So that's something very important to look at. And all nursing programs are going to have lots of internships and hands-on experiences.
Thank you. Next hand up was Tanya from Potsdam, and then we'll go to Tanya from Old Westbury.
I would add to the internship and commitment to applied learning on these programs. You know, many of these disciplines are very hands-on discipline where you are interacting and dealing with people, and certainly having that experience is not only beneficial for a grad school or an employment application, but also helps you as a student determine who you want to work with and in what venue would you like to work with them with. You know, you could get to be a senior and think you want pediatrics and then work in a pediatrics internship and realize maybe you don't like children, you know, and so it's good for you to get that experience as a student. I would also look for a program that has a strong commitment to advising and helping students walk through their post-academic goals to just help guide, because you know, your college career is more than about just picking those classes. Right? It's about mapping where you want to go after you leave. And so I would say a strong commitment to advising, and then also strong areas of student support on campus. Do they have tutoring? Do they have mentoring? Are there programs set up to support you in your academic and your campus experience? So I would add those pieces. Thank you.
Thanks, Tanya. And then Tanya from Old Westbury.
So in addition to what's already been said, something that I also looked at was the professor to student ratio, because as a bio major, I was really interested in research. So compared to the professor student ratio at Stony Brook, the professor student ratio at SUNY Old Westbury is lower, which gives you more chance to get in contact with the professor you might be interested in doing research with. So that's something that I think is also that should be taken into account.
All right, so let's move on to our next question. And that is going to be another live audience question. Megan, do we have any unanswered ones?
Yeah, we have two that are about medical school. So once you complete medical school, do you have to do your internship and residency at that school? Then the other one is, are there any internships or opportunities for experience in the medical field during high school, or can you only do that during college?
Oh, great. Who would like to weigh in on either or both of those first? All right, Tanya, go right ahead.
I'd like to weigh in on the experience during high school. You can certainly get experience during high school. In fact, the more experience and observation that you can get, the better suited you are to really determine where you want to go. And some high schools have relationships with local hospitals where they will bring students into the hospitals and help them. Sometimes they do rounds with doctors, or sometimes they are placed in different departments where they can observe the professionals. And so, you know, I would start maybe with your own high school and maybe talk with your guidance counselor to see if any of those programs exist. Also, your area BOCES might sponsor programs like that. And so, you know, certainly I think that anytime you can get experience, it doesn't matter. You shouldn't wait until college. Get your experience now, because it helps you to frame what it is you want to do and where you'd like to go.
Awesome, thank you. And Cecilia, go right ahead.
As a student, I wish I had gotten more experience in high school. So it's definitely something I recommend to people, especially if you want to go into something like nursing, because my first time ever stepping into the hospital was my first clinical day. And some of my friends and stuff, you know, had patient care tech jobs or worked at doctor's offices and stuff in high school and things like that. So a lot of them had been in that field before, and it definitely helped them a lot. So if you could get some sort of opportunity like that, that's a good idea.
That's awesome. Anyone else want to weigh in on those before we move on to the next question? Okay. So the next one for tonight is going to be, is it beneficial to pursue a highly specified program, or should I choose something more broad like a general biology? And it looks like Dr. Peterson, you were first, and then we'll head over to Brockport second.
So I would think it depends on what you want to do. If you don't have a good idea of exactly what you want to do, but you know you want to do something in healthcare, starting with bio would be very good. If you know, though, that you want to be a nurse, or you know you want to be a nutritionist, or you know you want to work with exercise phys, then I would go right into those programs. My suggestion.
Thank you. And Dr. Nation, I'm so sorry. I keep saying one school when I mean the other, but you are up.
That's great. No, I agree with Kathleen. I think, but I do believe that medical schools are really starting to open up and look for more general pathways into medical school. But if you do know that you are specifically interested in a certain profession and the school offers the pathway to that, I would jump on board in that pathway, specific pathway. Thank you.
Fantastic. And Alyssa, go right ahead.
I would agree. I think if you know that you want to be in a specialized area, then go into that major. A lot of medical professions, you're going to do a lot more schooling than just your bachelor's degree. So biology might be a great way to start and make sure you like the medical profession, because those biology courses are going to kind of give you a little bit of everything. But really it's up to you and what you want and where you see your pathway going.
Excellent. Thank you. Our next question for tonight is going to be, are internships and clinicals required? And if so, how do I find those opportunities? All right, and go right ahead.
So this was actually what I was speaking about. So there are programs such as dietetics that do require clinical. You have to have 1,200 hours of clinical experience, speech pathology, occupational pathology, as well as OT. They all require those clinicals. The schools that you go to generally have those opportunities. You generally cannot go into a hospital and just say, I'm here to get some clinical experience. It's usually through an accredited program. And so I would start by looking at your own program and your advisors and your department directors to give you a list of where those are.
Thank you. And Jose, I think you were next.
Right, absolutely. Medical technology, a clinical internship is required for state licensure, and at Plattsburgh State, that is done through a accredited, ASCP accredited or NAACLS accredited clinical internship program at regional hospitals all over, not just the state, but also in the Northeast. And but that's required, and through the advising period, about a year before the clinical begins, applications are sent out to these internship hospitals. And so students have some opportunities to select where they want to apply. And obviously at that point, the clinicals are still somewhat competitive.
Fantastic. All right. So I think we have time for one or two more questions from the chat if we have them.
We're caught up.
Excellent. Okay. Well, for the sake of time, let's keep going because I think we have a couple more questions here and I want to make sure everyone has lots of time to get into the breakout rooms. All right, so our last couple questions here, we're going to start off with, is it possible to double major when studying within the health professions? Oh, I have lots of hands. I'm not entirely sure which one of you was first, but I will pick Tanya to start.
I don't think I was first, but I'll go. I would say yes, but you want to make sure that if you're going to do that, you decide to do that early on. Some majors, and I can just speak for my own institution, some majors play better together than others. I would say that, particularly some of our majors, if we have majors that are double majors in biology and exercise science, or community health and sociology, or some of these majors that have classes that kind of double count, and that's a schedule mechanics type of question. So that's certainly something that you would want to bring up to your advisor that you are considering. And there are other types of mechanics to that too. If you are looking at a program that's a BA and a BS, you have to have more credit hours to complete that. And so, certainly something to consider and speak with the advisor at your institution.
Awesome, thank you. Let's go over to Buffalo and then Brockport.
I would say it is possible, but be careful. Sometimes in the programs in the healthcare field, grades matter a lot. And if you're stretched a little bit too thin, that may take a toll on your grades and you may be disappointed at the end. But it is possible, although often classes conflict with each other. So you have to be, it's like a puzzle. You've got to put it in place very strategically.
I would say in nursing, it's very hard to double major. I can think of one person that I know has double majored, and that person came in with many credits from high school. The good thing though, at least for nursing, is you can minor in different things. At Brockport, all of our our nursing students have a bio minor right away, just because of all the biology classes they take. And then we have other minors set up, psych, care of the elderly, alcohol and drug abuse. And we've got a variety of minors set up. So think about maybe a couple of minors if you're thinking about nursing.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody. Then we're going to move on to where are some of your graduates working now? Anyone have some exciting alumni stories? Kathy, you can go right ahead.
Okay, so I'm going to have the best one. I'm just telling you. So nurses obviously can work all over the place. And one of my favorite students, who is an alum, graduated quite a few years ago. Actually, her husband was an ROTC person at Brockport, because Brockport has ROTC, and she was a nurse. So she went in after graduation. They both went into the Army, and she was an Army nurse. Did a few tours in Afghanistan. You know, she was a flight nurse, ICU nurse. She ended up being the head nurse in the White House under President Obama. So I think that's a great place. So we have nurses working all over the globe and doing all sorts of wonderful jobs.
That's absolutely fantastic. All right, let's hear some other alumni success stories here. We're going to go to SUNY Buffalo and then SUNY Old Westbury.
So Kathleen, I can't quite beat that, but our students, some of our students are working at Roswell Park Cancer Institute, which is a really good hospital in the area. Our dietitians are often clinical managers in the acute and long-term care facilities around the area. And our health and wellness graduates often work for insurance companies, being actually their health coordinators. Insurance companies want healthy people. So students fit right into that very easily. Thank you.
Got it. Let's move on to SUNY Old Westbury, and then we will talk to Tanya. Dr. Mascareno, are you there? I'm just having trouble.
Yeah, my connection fell. Okay. Hi, guys. We have many interesting alumni stories that really are gratifying for us and motivating for incoming students. Our MD professionals are now professors in Yale University in radiology. This was one of my first undergraduate research students, so he has gone all the way there. My another of my research students is now doing residency in Michigan in orthopedic surgery. Another of my students is doing in Michigan residency in surgery. And another student from my lab is just started pediatrics residency in New Jersey. And the list goes on. And we have dental students again. So some of the dental students are practicing dentists already. And one of my dentist students, after completing his specializations, has gone on to join the Army, and he's a dentist in the Army. And non-professional degrees, we have students who have gone on to the accelerated nursing program and gone on to become nurse practitioners after working for a few years. And in terms of PhD, a couple of students have gone to PhD programs at Stony Brook University, and several students are working as technicians in Cornell Medical Center or Mount Sinai Medical Center in New York City or Sloan Kettering Cancer Center. So students, even from a four-year college, have gone on to Ivy Leagues or good professional colleges and competitive residencies. So nothing can hold you back if you want to do it.
So thank you. And Tanya, I'll give you the last comments on this one.
I think lastly, I just wanted to say, in this very general statement, is that our graduates are actually working at their internship sites. You heard Megan talk a little bit about her job. You know, that's a common occurrence, is that specifically, I think on the community health side of this, our graduates end up employed where they intern. And so, you know, that I think is a really interesting thing, because now we have our former graduates supervising our current interns. So it's a nice piece.
Fantastic. All right, so we have time for one more quick live question before breakout rooms, I think.
Yeah, so Keisha had a great question. So for a career in women's reproductive health, can some of our faculty members suggest some potential pathways? I was going to say, Dr. Peterson.
I was trying to find my mouse. Just can't get there quick enough. In terms of nursing, all of our nursing programs will prepare you to be a generalist nurse. But once you graduate and become licensed, you can work in any area that you want to. So if you wanted to work in reproductive health, or you wanted to work in women's health, you could get a job right away in labor and delivery, or in one of those reproductive health offices. And you could also become a nurse midwife and work with reproductive health, or you could become a women's health nurse practitioner and work with women in that setting also. So there's a lot of opportunities in nursing to do that.
Any other last thoughts on that one? Okay. So we are now going to be opening up the breakout rooms. So judging by how fantastic this chat has been, it seems like you all have lots of questions. So what's going to happen at this point is we're going to send all of our faculty and students into their own breakout rooms for each school. So if you have some specific questions to ask to a particular SUNY staff that is here, this is going to be your opportunity to do so. We are going to be in breakout rooms for the rest of the event today. So take advantage of that. You have the ability to jump around between the breakout rooms as well and talk to multiple schools. If you're having any trouble with the breakout rooms at any point, you can always leave a note in the chat, and myself or someone from our tech team can help move you around. So we're going to go ahead now and open those breakout rooms. And if you're not familiar with breakout rooms, if you haven't used them before, what you're going to be looking for is the button in your Zoom bar that has the 4 squares that's labeled breakout rooms. Once you select that, you'll be able to see all the options and then click join to any room that you would like. So we're going to open all the rooms right now. And everyone should be able to start moving around. And Danielle, I think we may be having a little bit of trouble with folks moving into their own breakout rooms. Oh, I may stand corrected. I think everyone's finding their way.
Wonderful. But yeah, if you do have any issues, type in the chat and then we can get you moved into the correct spot.